Hello, everybody, and thank you once again for joining us today on Defining the Dash podcast, where we're hoping to make every moment count. With you, as always, I'm your host, Chad Clifton, and my partner in crime over here, got Brother Mark Mullins. How you doing today, Brother Mark?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. We've had um, we've had some, I guess, similar conversations in the past. You know, we did the episode on get the monkey off my back and cutting the strings of your past. But you know, sometimes there's things that happen, Brother Mark, uh, that creep up on us that we don't always understand or we don't realize what's going on, and sometimes we make mistakes, or you know, maybe we fail at something that we was really hoping to do well at, and so that's something we want to talk about on today's podcast. But before we get into that, Brother Mark, we've got some shout outs to give. And these shout outs are to people that have either left us a comment, they've sent us an email, they've talked to us in person and told us that they've been listening to the podcast, you know, something like that. So if you want to shoot us an email, leave us a rating or a comment on one of the sites that you're listening in on, whether it's, you know, if it's on Apple, if it's on Google, go to the comment section, leave a comment, leave a rating and review. On YouTube, if you listen on YouTube, you can leave comments. Or now, some more exciting news is we now have a website out that's functional.
We do?
Yes, miracles still happen, brother.
Awesome.
We're going places.
We're going places.
Yeah, it might be at turtle speed, or it might be in reverse, but we are going places.
And we're going green.
And we're
That's why
Hey.
we're slow.
That's why we're slow, and we had to stop and charge. But we have a website now at definingthedash.us.
Is that
Definingthedash.us.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like
And so if you go on there, you'll see a section that there's a welcome section, there's an about section, there's a section that ties it in to where you can listen to the podcast. There's a section where you can shop some of the merchandise that we have out now, the T-shirts and the long sleeve T-shirts and things. Some of those prices have been marked down a little bit too.
Awesome.
And so
Just in time for Christmas?
just in time for Christmas, so you know you want to hook all your loved ones up with some of those. We do have hats and socks in the works, and so hopefully those will be rolling out soon, and hopefully definitely in time for Christmas, I'm hoping.
Awesome.
And so, you know, some great things are happening. As I mentioned before, we are updating YouTube, putting some things on there. So please go to our YouTube channel as well, Defining the Dash Podcast. Like and subscribe. Click the little bell icon. That way, anytime we post a video, currently we've been posting audio. We do hope to maybe do some video soon. Maybe some other types of videos as well on there. Maybe some dad joke videos, or you know, just a little something. I love dad jokes.
Yeah.
Dad jokes are jokes I can understand.
Me too.
And
I
so,
can get them.
yeah, and they seem like jokes I would write because I'm a dad.
So, question, you're talking about some of our merch that
Yes.
we've got coming down the line.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about them socks that we have, Brother Chad.
Yes, sir.
Christmas time is coming.
Christmas time's a coming.
On top of our fireplace, we hang stockings.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do that, some people don't.
Yes.
If we get low-end stockings, you know, with children coming into the house, then we'll just use some of my dirty socks.
Okay.
But would it be...
Probably don't want to eat no candy out of your stocking.
No, don't want to
No.
turn. You don't want to turn the fireplace on
Yes.
until you make sure the socks are clean. Trust me. Don't ask how I know that.
Yeah.
Just trust me. But can I stuff stockings with sockings? You like it?
I like it.
I like it.
Yes.
So there's an idea for the ads.
Okay, we're gonna have
Show
to
your
we're gonna have
dads.
to make a new commercial. Yep.
Yep.
Stuff your stockings with sockings.
Perfect. I love it. All right. Good idea.
That's dad joke.
That's that joke.
But Anyway, we want to give these shout outs to you. Sister Angel Lamy, great, precious friend of ours, told us that she listens to us all the time. So, Sister Angel, we love you. Thank you for listening.
Right. And Jacob Van Dyke, fabulous guy.
Yep.
I think he gives us some courtesy listens.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I appreciate
He
Brother
feels
Jacob.
sorry for us.
He does.
It's a courtesy listen.
He's such a great guy.
Yeah.
He's just a great family, man. They're
Yes.
top notch. You can't beat the Van Dykes.
Travis Robinson, Brother Travis Robinson, talked to me the other day. He said he's been listening, and he's loving the episode. So, Brother Travis, want to say howdy to you, and we appreciate you.
And Brother Chad, let's not forget Kenton and Devin Cordell.
Yes, sir. Great guys.
There's some great guys that's been tuning in. They've been getting bored as well. Who else?
Brother Isaac and Brother Jacob Smith.
Mhm.
They've been listening, and I was supposed to give them a shout out a couple of weeks ago, and on the episodes we did on prophecy and on Brother Mike and Sister Debbie's tributes, I didn't get the chance to do so. So, Brother Isaac, Brother Jacob, I apologize. This is late, but this one's for you, buddy.
Better late than ever, Brother Chad.
Yeah, it's true. I'm trying to make it count.
You are making it count.
Brother Daniel Hoover up in Pennsylvania.
Oh man, that's one of the Northerners.
Yes, sir, Brother Daniel.
Awesome.
Great guy.
Awesome.
And a great friend of ours. Brother Daniel, we appreciate you listening.
Yep, and we can't forget my old buddy from Ohio, Tony Brumfield. Tony and I, we go back a long ways. Got some great stories on Tony. He's got some better stories on me, and so we'll leave that where it is. But I'm glad old Tony's listening in. Sunday morning, he told me the other day when he on Sunday morning before church, he's looking for something to listen to, and so he listens in on the podcast. And so I don't know if his wife is still asleep, so he's not listening to her.
I know what it is.
What?
He's listening because it tears him up so bad. It makes him so frustrated he has to go pray real hard before he goes to Sunday school.
That's probably what it is.
So by the time he gets to Sunday school, he's prayed up. He's
Especially-
prayed through, and he's just ready to have church.
Especially the dad jokes.
The dad jokes. That's, yeah.
And then my Sunday school teacher, back in the day, he's still a very wise man, one of my favorite people in the world, Brother Randy Cordell from Flatwoods, Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's been tuned in to us. Who else we got, Brother Chad?
Sister Cindy Reed, Brother Keith, they told us they've been listening, and so we sure do appreciate that. Appreciate y'all listening. Appreciate y'all putting up with us.
Oh, me too.
So many other places you could be tuning into, but you choose to come back week after week listening to us, and we really appreciate it.
We should probably mention our wives too.
Well, that was definitely next on my list was our families. Our families are sacrificing time with us, which they may be okay with. They're like, they're out of my hair.
Yeah.
And but our families, we definitely want to give a shout out to them. And Brother Nathan, back in the PA booth, we've always got to give a shout out to Brother Nathan.
What a man.
He is behind the scenes making the magic happen every time. And so we've always got to give Brother Nathan Webb a shout out. Mm-hmm. He is our editor-in-chief.
I think we should double his pay.
I will, yes.
Okay.
That we got to take it before the board.
Okay.
And
Next month.
next month, next business meeting we have. Okay. And so thank you, everybody that has made this happen, made this possible, that has tuned in, listened week after week, and just maybe a kind word here or there, letting us know that you're listening. It goes such a long ways, and is a big encouragement to us. And we honestly didn't think as many people would listen as do listen. That list right there was already way more list than I ever thought would ever listen.
There's a lot of bored people.
Yes.
Chad.
There has to be.
Oh, yeah.
Either that or there's so many folks that feel sorry for us.
Absolutely.
But whatever the reason, please continue.
Please continue. We appreciate it.
Because you're making us feel great. So, but today, getting back to today's topics, I guess. And again, we are on almost any podcast platform out there. Which we just found out yesterday. We're actually on Audible now too, audible.com. So anywhere podcasts are played, pretty much, you should be able to find us. Be sure to go in and listen to the episodes, like the episodes. Leave us a rating, good, bad, or ugly, and
Preferably good.
preferably good. That would probably mean the most to us. But
You
leave
won't
us
get a shout-out if
leave
you
us
don't
a comment, a review, a rating. If there's something you would like to see us do, or something you would like to see us talk about, something of that nature, then by all means, please let us know, and we'll see if we can work that in. We do have some topics that some folks have shared with us that we are still working on. Want to give a shout out to our friend Johnny Hank Stiltner again. He's listened to us and everything, so we don't want to leave him out. But some folks have shared some topics with us, and we're trying to work that in, and so be sure any feedback you have, send that to us on the website that we have now. There's a contact us page, and on that page, it gives you our YouTube, our email, our Instagram page. And there's actually a place where you can just click and it'll automatically take you to those pages.
Awesome.
So, any of that, you can leave any of that information on there. Shoot us an email at definingthedash@yahoo.com. Our YouTube page, our Instagram page, which is defining_the_dash. And you can leave us comments on there.
So why was that not defining dash the dash dash dash?
There wasn't an option available.
Okay.
It would have been. It would have been more convenient.
Yeah.
It really would have. But yeah,
Look us up.
it wasn't available.
Okay.
So, but yeah, look us up and send us the feedback. Send us your comments, and we would love to read through those and check those out. And so, Brother Mark, talking about mistakes. Now, we was talking a little bit earlier about mistakes and failures.
Okay.
And so, first of all, I'm human. I make mistakes.
You do.
Thank you, Brother Mark. Appreciate you admitting that for me.
Affirm that for you.
Yes, I think. Flaws, I have those too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm human. I have flaws. And so the first thing here is we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. The only perfect man ever was Jesus Christ.
Right.
And so there are going to be times we may make mistakes.
So question, if we feel like we don't make mistakes, are we mistaken in thinking that we don't make mistakes?
Yes.
Okay, just clarifying.
100%. Yes, sir. Yes. I would have done an accent better there, but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's early Thursday morning. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good call. And so, there's three types of mistakes that we could make here that we was talking about. First of all, you can make a mistake and that you never realized you made.
Okay.
And it may be a period of time down the road before you ever find out you made that mistake.
Right.
There are mistakes that really you may make, and as soon as you do that, you may be like, "Oh, I made a bad mistake here," or there may be mistakes that you go into saying, "No, this is going to be a mistake,"
Right.
but you choose to go ahead and do it anyway. And so those are the three kind of mistakes we're going to be talking about, and in a sense, the one that you know it's wrong and choose not to do it anyway. That really, Brother Mark, would that not constitute as more of a sin instead of a mistake?
I would think so.
Because it's not what you should do.
Right.
But yet you do it anyway.
So there's already a standard for what is moral and ethical and good and right according to the Bible.
Right.
And if I have knowledge of that and I choose to act inappropriately according to that knowledge and those convictions, then that I feel like that's probably a sin.
Now, there are, like I said, mistakes that we may not realize that we made until after the fact. So, like, say, a mistake. I worked at when I was a teenager, I worked at a supply store, a hardware supply store, much like a Lowe's. It wasn't a Lowe's, but a store similar to that. And so I would have people do this. And as a teenager, I was dumb. I didn't know the difference. People would come in and they would say, "Hey, I want you to, instead of buying an 8-foot 2x4, they would say, I want you to take that 16-foot 2x4 and cut me an 8-footer out of it."
Okay.
I would go do it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, we had a whole pile of 8-footers out there,
Right.
but they wouldn't do that. They would want me to go cut. And so it wasn't long, my boss was getting on to me. He was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, hey, it's 8 and 8, 16. If I just cut it,
Right.
Well, no, when you cut that, it's making this one shorter. It's making that one, And he's like, "Then we can't sell it for that. It's no longer the appropriate size as an 8-footer would come." And that was a mistake I made out of ignorance.
Right.
And so, I found out it was a mistake really quick.
No doubt.
But the important thing to remember about mistakes is, one, we're going to make them. But two is, what do we do after we've made that mistake?
Brother Chad, I think the first thing we need to do after we made the mistake is we have to recognize that it was a mistake.
Yes.
Reminds me, and it's still a little bit painful, but I'm getting over it. This past week, my wife finally talked me into, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, sir.
But I had a mailbox that really needed to be replaced for like a long time. So long that even my 8-year-old reminded me about it every few weeks. And so it's been going on for a few months. And so we bought the stuff to replace that, and we got the mailbox replaced. Looks really nice and pretty out front. And I got the new mailbox up there, Chad, and the only thing that wasn't looking nice and pretty is the tall grass around it.
You're right.
And so, long story short, another painful place. My zero turn is in the shop. Been in the shop for about 4 or 5 months. And so I got a used tractor. And what I thought was going to do, Brother Chad, is the typical man thing. How can I get this done the fastest?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Riding lawnmower, right? So I
Sure.
go across the road, start cutting down along the ditch line, and I didn't realize that when I was cutting the ditch line, I had about an 8-inch drop. And so as soon as I recognized the 8-inch drop, I realized that was a mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I got to crawling underneath the mower, I realized it was a bigger mistake than I thought it was originally. But I said that to say this, that when I realized that it was a mistake and my tire had popped off my rim, I had to consciously recognize that as a mistake and verbalize it and make actions to keep doing further damage to my mower.
Right.
Okay, so that was a long response to that question. Sorry, I just had that burning story on my mind, the old burden, I guess. But what do we do first when we make a mistake? First thing we got to do is we got to recognize that we made a mistake. We can't ignore it.
Right.
Ignore mistakes can allow for further damage
Yes.
that we have to endure.
Right. And a lot of times too, if we try to hide a mistake, it makes it so much worse when the mistake comes to light.
Oh yeah, it'll come to light.
And usually it will come to light. Like, case in point, and this is going back on one of your mistakes, Brother Mark.
Oh, I've got them, man. Have you talked to my wife?
You shared in the tribute to Brother Mike and Sister Debbie Roberts.
A few weeks, Brother.
Yeah, that's going back in time.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I remembered. I've slept since then.
That was good.
But you talked about when you wrecked Brother Mike's van.
Oh yeah.
And you took it back, and you was like, "How do I tell him?" Well, I don't.
You just don't.
You just don't tell it.
Tell the preacher.
And
like
so
you're not going to find out.
Yeah.
God.
and so that was an example of what not to
what
do.
not to do. Yeah.
Because it wasn't very long, if I recall, Brother Mike was coming to you going,
yeah.
"Hey, buddy, did you wreck my van?"
Oh yeah. And man, Brother Chad, that was such a teaching. I've got so many teaching moments in my life.
Sure, sure.
That was just one of them. And sometimes I'll go in a room and seeing a patient, and then something happens, and the prescription don't go through, or I picked the wrong pharmacy, or whatever the case is. I've learned after doing this for several years, the first thing you do is you got to admit that.
Yeah.
You say, my bad.
Yeah.
If you admit it, and if you don't know what happened, just say, I don't know what happened. But this is what I meant to do. This is what I'm doing right now. And so what you don't do is you don't pretend like nothing's wrong. Like
right.
I did in that case, like you was talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. That's the important thing is we oftentimes might make a mistake, but we act as though it's a huge shame to admit that we've made a mistake.
Yep.
And it really ends up being a bigger shame once the whole hide job, the process of trying to hide it has snowballed into a bigger thing than what the mistake was to start with.
Right.
And so it is just so much easier. It is so much more honest. It's going to be so much more satisfying to the individual.
Right.
And it's just going to be so much better spiritually if you just say, hey, you know what? This was not what I intended.
Right.
This was something that happened purely by mistake. It was a simple mistake. I did not mean for this to happen. I did not mean to do this. And then, as the Bible tells us, get up and try again.
Right.
And that's whether it's in something material that you've made a mistake with. Maybe you've broke a vase or broke a. My mom worked for this lady one time, and this was back when I was a little kid, and we had a little sponge football. And there's some sponge footballs that are kind of hard.
Oh yeah.
But this was not. This was one that was so light and so soft, it was hard to throw. Well, in this lady's kitchen, she had these a light, and it was like 4 big globe things.
That just looked like it needed to be hit.
Well, I was not intending on hitting the globe things, but I threw the ball trying to throw it to my brother or somebody. I can't remember now who was there. And I don't think the thing even hit it. Just the wind, I guess, off of it shook it enough or something.
Man, you're strong.
I don't know. To this day, I've not figured it out, brother. But that globe came loose from that light and fell and shattered. A piece of it cut my mom's arm. She was there at the counter. And we had to replace that lady's globes because I threw a ball in the house.
Wow.
Not only did I know at that appropriate moment, by the look on my mother's face,
that's all you needed,
and the steam coming out of her ears,
and her red eyes,
the blood coming down her arm, and probably the redness my hide was getting ready to have. I knew I had made a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to repair that mistake, And so there are things we may have to do sometimes to repair a mistake.
Right. Absolutely. Brother Chad, when you've made a mistake, when I've made a mistake, and I've decided that I'm going to be honest with myself and everybody else, all God's people, about that mistake, and I've decided that I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to be a man.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm going to do that. Where do I begin to fix what I have broken?
I think before you can do anything, I think you first got to be honest with yourself, then be honest with God. And then in doing those two things, it's going to lead you to be honest with everybody else about it. because you're not going to be honest with God about it until you realize in yourself, hey, man, I messed up.
Right.
Um, and it can be something simple. Maybe you saw something you shouldn't have seen. Maybe you listened to something you shouldn't have heard or something. And not condoning those things. So
Sure.
I mean, not saying going out and intentionally doing it, but
Right.
maybe just hearing it or seeing it and not meaning to. But when that first happens, before you're going to really say, okay, I need to tell God I made a mistake. You first have to recognize that you made a mistake.
Sure.
And so we have to say that to ourselves and then to God. And in most cases, I mean, that's going to fix it there. Unless you really went and offended someone else, you're probably not going to have to get up and make that known, before anyone else. If it's something like that.
Right.
Now, if you offended another person or done something, harmed another person in some way, then you would need to go back to that person and say, hey, I didn't intend for this to happen. I made this mistake. I've prayed about it. I've asked God to forgive me, and I would like for you to forgive me. I apologize. And sometimes that's hard to do. I've had to go back and apologize to people, and it's a very uncomfortable thing. But it's not near as uncomfortable as leaving the situation undone.
Right.
And then going, I remember one time I had said something, and it was about somebody. And
Was it me?
And no, it was not you.
Okay.
I would have just come and told you.
Okay. All right.
But I said something about somebody, and then I would come and I would see them at church, and then you got that in your mind. You're like, I wonder if they know.
Yep.
Do they know?
Oh yeah.
And now they're looking at me weird.
Right.
And they're, so finally I was like, hey man, listen.
Yeah.
I said this. I probably shouldn't have. Hey, something was told to me. It got on my nerves. That something that I was told you said. I did the wrong thing.
Right.
And I said, I've told the other person I shouldn't have said it. I've asked them for forgiveness. I said, but I need to ask you for forgiveness.
Oh yeah.
And they was like, well, what did you say?
Oh.
And then I'm like, okay,
Here we
all
go.
right, here we go. Let's just roll it out,
Yep.
And you know what happened when I told them?
What happened?
They laughed.
Yep.
Yeah, they was like, man, that's no big deal. Who cares?
Right. Right. But man,
And I'm like, yeah, but it matters to me, man. I shouldn't have said
you're
it.
the guy laying, your head's on the pillow at night.
That's right.
You sleep a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Clear things out.
That's exactly right. And we're going to have mistakes. We're going to have failures. There's things we're going to want to be successful at in life that maybe we fail at. There's things spiritually. Maybe you want to be a singer, and you get up and you try to sing, and the first time it don't go over well. Or maybe you want to be an anointed testifier or feeling the call to preach, and the first time you get up and it flops.
Right. Right.
That don't mean you give up.
Right.
Try it again.
Absolutely.
Believe in yourself. And if you feel that God's calling you to do that, He's somehow going to make a way for you to do that.
Amen. Amen. Brother Chad, we was talking about making mistakes, and sometimes we make mistakes when we know to do good and we do bad, and sometimes we're just going through life and we're making a mistake. But I was over here listening to my mind think, and I remember this kind of a little odd, funny story.
You were listening to your mind to
Listening
think.
to my mind on the inside.
Okay.
And I remember one day I was in a school somewhere in the United States as a student in a Christian school. And I had a particular teacher. And I thought I was going through routine daily school, and I guess I was a heathen. I guess I still am a heathen, if you ask the wrong person, like my wife. But anyway, Brother Chad, I remember, I don't know if it was morning time or evening time, but I remember sitting there in that seat and hearing my teacher cry. That's something you never forget. A Christian school, and you hear a teacher cry.
Wow.
So something big must have happened, right?
Sure.
And so, I was thinking about all my big buddies at the
Yeah.
time and what they did
Yeah.
to make the teacher cry. Well, it turned out it was me that made the teacher cry.
Oh, wow.
And to this day,
You dog, you.
I know what gets me though.
I'm one of those teachers now, Mark.
To this day, I don't know what I did to make the teacher cry. And so, I said that to say this. Now, I felt bad, brother. I mean, I knew that I brought tears to my teachers. Now, and that teacher was a tough old bird, And but I remember that day, Brother Chad, had made a mistake and not known what I did. In my little mind and my little heart, I wanted to still try to fix it.
Sure.
It'll
eat at you. Yeah.
And so I said that to say this. Sometimes going through life, we're just going to go through life like normal.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to think anything about what we said or what we did or the facial expression we had. Or, we may have been thinking about a podcast that we listened to earlier that day that's kind of got our mind, spinning, and we're trying to figure something out and respond to our spouse to a question or something.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way we convey our answer, it could almost be read that we were mad. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then when that happens, the other party that, thinks we're mad at them when it didn't have anything to do with it. We was thinking about a podcast we listened to earlier. And so I said all that to say this, Brother Chad. It's early in the morning, so I need to get on past this. But I said all that to say this, that sometimes we're going to offend people. We're going to make mistakes that we didn't know that we made, or people want to read us as having made a mistake. And even those moments when we don't know what we did or how we got to this point, I think it's very important to have a heart that is open to do whatever we have to do or whatever we can do within our reasonable power to correct what someone else may see as a mistake, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes, I'm in agreement with you there. Brother Mark, it has been an interesting episode. I know we've dwelt a lot on making mistakes and having failures in your life and things. But if you're out there listening and you feel like that's describing something you've done in your life, then I want you to know this. We're all going to make mistakes. What really makes the character, what really defines the man or the woman that you are is what you do after you make that mistake.
Right.
Don't give up. Don't quit.
Right.
Get back up and keep going. Try to make it right and overcome that thing. Don't let that thing conquer you.
Right.
You do not have to be defined by your mistake. You can overcome that. And so, and that's an important part of making every moment count, Brother Mark.
Very
and so, thank you for tuning in. I hope that this episode has some way been a blessing to you. Maybe hope it's been a help to you. And I hope you'll tune back in next week with us. And until then, let's make every moment count. God bless you.